Most people think that building wealth is all about making more money, getting lucky with stocks, or finding some secret investment strategy. I have spent the last 3 years studying hundreds of people who have built wealth from nothing. Teachers, police officers, even baristas making average wages who become millionaires. But here's what completely shattered everything I thought I knew about getting rich. It had nothing to do with their income, their background, or even what they invested in. Over 90% of their wealth came from a mental program running in their brain 24/7 that most people don't even know exists. And so in the next few minutes, I'm going to show you how you can install that exact same program. Plus, I'm going to give you one action that will start changing your bank account today. What's up, everybody? I'm Rashida, and I help people make smart money moves. I managed to grow my portfolio to 7 figures, and I did it all on a police officer's salary. But in the early days of my wealth building journey, I had the exact same broke mindset that keeps most people stuck. I remember back when I was making $35,000 a year working in sales, living paycheck to paycheck, and at one point I had convinced myself that people like me don't get to build wealth. I believed that I needed to get lucky along the way or have a rich uncle leave me all of his money. But eventually, I discovered something that changed everything. It was the realization that wealthy people think about money in a completely different way than the average person. Their brains are wired differently. And so today, I'm breaking down the exact mental programming that separates wealth builders from everyone else. And this will not be some mindset fluff. This is going to be the specific psychological framework that helped turn my $35,000 salary into a 7-figure portfolio. And if you stick around to the end, I'll share the one mental shift that took me from checking my bank balance with anxiety to building wealth automatically, even when my salary stayed the same. Because here's what most people don't really understand. Your brain is likely infected with what I call the scarcity virus. And so you automatically think, I can't afford that, or people like me don't get rich. But here is what blew my mind when I studied wealthy people. They speak a completely different language. They don't ask, can I afford this? They ask, how can I create this? And so their brain is going to start by trying to solve a problem, all right? Instead of accepting those limitations or limiting beliefs. But most people will never make this shift. It's because they don't even realize that they're infected. So listen to yourself today and try to catch some of these words. That's too expensive, or I'm broke, or I'll never be able to afford it. Because every single time that you say these kind of words, you are programming your brain to stay in the exact same position that you're in right now. And so your mind naturally starts to filter out any opportunities. Your reticular activating system, that's the part of your brain that decides what you notice. It's getting trained to see a lack instead of abundance. But when I was making less than $40,000 as a police officer, I discovered something that changed everything. I started changing my language. And so instead of saying things like, I can't afford it, I would say, how can I afford it? And so over time, my brain began working for me instead of against me. And so that simple shift led me to notice benefits from my employer that I had been ignoring, which is usually free money. And so I started there, but over time, I started to ratchet up my investments from there, okay? And I decided to be very, very aggressive here. But here's where most people mess up. They think that $50 doesn't matter. They think that small amounts are pointless. And so they never even start. And that's exactly why they stay broke or in the exact same position for decades, while others with the same income go on to become millionaires. And so try this. For the next 48 hours, I want you to catch yourself every time you say something negative about money. And so replace I can't afford it with how can I afford it? And so this isn't just positive thinking. This is neuroplasticity, all right? Your words will literally rewire your brain. Your brain has something called a reticular activating system. And so I want you to think of this as a filter that shows you what you're focused on. And so for example, when you think about buying a red car, you will suddenly see red cars everywhere. And the exact same thing happens with money. When your mind is programmed for scarcity, you miss opportunities that are right in front of you. And so that is why you stay stuck while others with the same resources get ahead. But when your mind makes that shift to abundance mode, everything changes. You start noticing ways to save money, make money, and invest money that were invisible before. And suddenly opportunities start to appear everywhere. I remember back when I first started to invest, I was terrified. That scarcity programming in my mind told me that investing is risky and that people like me lose money in the market. And so I avoided it for months, missing out on those gains. But once I shifted my mindset to investing is how wealthy people build wealth, my brain started scanning for more opportunities. And so when I was just a kid working retail, I made the discovery that my employer matched, hey, I wasn't maximizing that. Literally free money that I had been ignoring. Then I went on to discover index funds with low fees that my scarcity brain had dismissed as too good to be true. And so after making the shift, I started with just $50 a month. But here's the crazy part. Once I went down that path, I even started seeing little small side hustles to fund my investments that had been completely invisible before. And so my brain was now programmed to hunt for abundance instead of fear. And so I want you to try this. Every morning for the next week, I want you to write down 3 money opportunities that you could pursue that day. And these do not have to be big. It can be something small like negotiating a bill, selling something that you don't use, or learning about one investment concept. Doing this constantly is going to train your brain to scan for abundance instead of lack. Now, before we dive into strategy number 3, I want to talk about something that has completely transformed my life as a business owner. And if you are a business owner, or if you're thinking about starting a side hustle, you need to hear this. Melio has given me back control over my business payments, and they have made my life so much easier. As a business owner, I was constantly stressed about paying my vendors and contractors, writing checks, tracking bank transfers manually, not knowing if payments went through. It was chaos, and I felt like I had very little control over my own business finances. But Melio changed my business life, and now I'm in complete control. Watch this. I upload an invoice, and then I decide how I prefer to pay. Melio's free plan includes 5 free ACH transfers per month, and this number increases if you decide to go with a paid plan. Or, and here's the genius part, even if my vendor only accepts checks, ACH, or wire transfers, I can pay with my credit card, and Melio handles everything else for me. This has transformed how I run my business because I'm earning cash back and points on expenses that I'm already paying. Plus, I can extend my cash flow by up to 45 days. My vendors don't need to sign up for anything, they just get paid, which makes my life easier because there is no back and forth. Melio offers fast payment methods like same-day ACH and wire transfers, credit card, instant payments, which is all the flexibility I need. And I can set up recurring payments so that I never miss a deadline. I can even pay international vendors in US dollars or their local currency with a bank transfer or credit card. It has made running my business so much simpler. So try using Melio for yourself using the link below. Take back control of your business payments, make your life easier, and finally feel like you are in charge of your business finances instead of them controlling you. All right, now let's get back to our video and take a look at our next strategy. Now, here's what most people don't understand about millionaires. We don't think about money the same way the average person thinks about money. We have a completely different blueprint running through our heads. The average person thinks about money in terms of spending, but a wealth builder is going to think about money in terms of investing. And here is where things get interesting. The average person is going to ask, how much does this cost? While a wealth builder is going to ask, what's the return on this investment? And that small difference there is everything. When I was broke, I would see a $1,000 course and think, that's way too expensive. But when I developed a wealth building mindset, I started to ask, what is my expected return on this investment in my education? And so even that single shift led me to invest in learning that generated tens of thousands of dollars in additional income. And so that $1,000 expense turned into a $50,000 return. But here is the critical part that most people will miss, all right? Wealth builders don't wait for their bank account to rise to start thinking like investors. They are thinking like that right now because wealth is not a result. wealth is actually a reflection. Wealth is a reflection of your mindset, your standards, and what you demand of yourself. And so that is why people can have the same income but have completely different net worths just 5 years later. One is thinking like an employee spending money, while the other is thinking like a wealth builder growing money. And the real transformation happens when you stop seeing yourself as someone who can't afford to invest and start seeing yourself as an investor who is building wealth systematically. Even if you are only investing $25 a week, you are an investor. And so I want you to try this. Before any purchase over $100, ask yourself the wealth builders question. Is this an investment in my future or just an expense? If it is just an expense, I want you to wait and sleep on that purchase for 48 hours. But if you think it's an investment, ask, what is my expected return? And this simple little filter will completely change how you allocate your money. Now, just like building muscle, you reprogram your mind for wealth through daily consistent training. You cannot hit the gym once and expect to have the physique of The Rock. You cannot hit the gym once and then expect to have a physique like Mr. Olympia, all right? You can't think wealthy thoughts one time and expect to be a millionaire tomorrow. Every morning before the world starts screaming at you, you need to program your mind with clarity. Not I hope I make it, but I will. Not I wish I had more, but I am becoming more. Not someday, but today is the day that I make a move. And here is what separates people who actually transform from those who just consume content. They make this routine non-negotiable. Just like a pro athlete would be in the gym, rain or shine, tired or energized, they show up for their mind the same way a serious athlete shows up for their body. And so here is my exact daily wealth mindset routine. This changed everything for me, and it only takes 5 minutes. First, I want you to spend 2 minutes visualizing your financial goals so vividly that you can feel them. Don't just see yourself having money. You need to see yourself actually using that money to create value, to serve others, to build something meaningful. When I started to do this, I could actually feel that confidence of financial freedom. But most people skip this because they think that visualization is woo-woo nonsense, all right? I want you to name one person who has ever done something great who wasn't a visionary, who didn't visualize their goals. That person doesn't exist. There's no way that you will ever achieve anything great without visualization. Because the truth is, your brain doesn't know the difference between a vividly imagined experience and a real one. All right, and the second thing I want you to do is to write down 3 things that you're grateful for financially. Even when I had almost no money to speak of, I could find 3 things: having a job, having the physical ability to earn, having the mental ability to learn, or having access to free financial education. We're so lucky to live in the information age. Gratitude is what's going to help shift your brain from scarcity to abundance very quickly. Now, the third thing that I want you to do is to ask yourself this wealth builder question. What is one action that I can take today to move closer to my financial goals? Sometimes it could be something like negotiating a bill or researching a new side hustle or business venture. But here's the key. You have to do this every single day until thinking like a wealth builder becomes as natural as breathing. And so I want you to try this. Set a 5-minute timer for tomorrow morning and do this routine before you check your phone. Do it just one time and see how different your day feels when you start from a position of abundance instead of anxiety. Now, just tiny changes in your thinking can actually create massive changes in your results over time. It's just like compound interest, but for your mindset. When I first started this journey, I couldn't change my salary overnight, but what I could change is how I thought about money. And so I started thinking like someone who was building wealth instead of someone who was just trying to survive. And so that mental shift led me to start investing $50 a month, just $50. And most people will say that that is not enough to matter. But that $50 became $100, which became $200, which became $500. And so as I sit here today, my savings and investment rate is right around 40% of my income, not because my salary increased dramatically, but because my mindset around money completely transformed over time. And here is what's wild about mindset compound interest. It grows much faster than money compound interest. Once you truly believe that you are capable of building wealth, you start making decisions that wealth builders make. And most importantly, you start taking actions that wealth builders take. Most people give up before the compound effect effect kicks in. They try for 1 week, maybe a month, and when they don't see dramatic results, they quit. That is like planting a seed and digging it up every day to see if it's still growing. The people that I studied who built real wealth, they understood that a mindset transformation is a slow burn that will lead to an explosion. 6 months of thinking differently, 1 year of small actions, 5 years of compound growth. That is when your $50 monthly investment becomes $5,000. That's when your side hustle becomes your main hustle. That is when your wealth builder identity becomes your reality. So try this. Set up what I call identity-based investing. So instead of saying I'm trying to save money, start saying that I'm a wealth builder who invests consistently. Then act like that person would act. Even if it's just $25 a week, start building that identity because your actions will follow your identity every single time. Now, I know this might sound too simple. You might be thinking, Rashida, I need practical advice, not this mindset stuff. But here's what I've learned after helping hundreds of people transform their finances. The practical stuff will never work without the mindset foundation because you can have the best budget in the world, but if you don't believe that you deserve wealth, you'll sabotage yourself. And you can know every investment strategy, but if you're afraid of losing money, you will never take action. And you can have the highest income, but if you think like a broke person, you will stay broke. And so you must understand that the mindset work is the practical work because once your mind is aligned with wealth, everything becomes easier. You will naturally start to make better financial decisions. You will naturally start seeing opportunities and you will naturally start attracting resources and people that you need to build wealth. But here's where most people are going to mess up. They try to change everything at once. They get motivated, they create this massive plan, but they burn out in 2 weeks because that is not how transformation works. Real change is going to happen through small, consistent actions that compound over time. Now, here's what I want you to do starting today. Pick just one of the 5 strategies that I gave you. So change your money language for 48 hours, write down 3 daily money opportunities, use the $100 purchase filter, do the 5-minute morning wealth routine, or start the identity-based investing with any amount. Don't try all 5, just pick one and master it for the next 30 days, then add another. Now, if you know which one that you want to try, please put it down in the comment section. I really want to know. This is how you are going to build that lasting transformation, not through massive changes that are going to burn you out. Remember, guys, that your current financial situation is just your starting point. It's not your destination. You have everything that you need to build wealth. You just need to train your brain to see it. Now, if you want to take this thing even deeper, because mindset is just the foundation, I've created a video that shows you the exact 6-account system that every wealth builder uses to automatically grow their money. And so I'll link that video right here for you. Now, if this video helped you to shift your thinking about money, do me a huge favor, share it with someone who needs to hear this message, because sometimes one conversation can change someone's financial future. Now, if you are still here at this point in the video, you are my people. Drop me a brain emoji down in that comment section because we're gonna get our mind right and wrapped around wealth building. Thank you so much for being here. It's been a pleasure. Again, I'm Rashida and I'm out.